Hello students, today we are going to write a program to calculate summation of 3 cross 2 matrices. Elements of the matrices are given by the user. So, we would be writing a modular program in which we would write a function to read elements from the user and another function to print the elements of the user on console, and the third function for summing the two matrices entered by the user. So let us go ahead with the function for reading elements from the user. So we would write a function, let us call it as read matrix, and let us take as a parameter a two-dimensional matrix. So here if you see, the matrix is 3 cross 2. Dimension is 3 cross 2, that is number of columns is 2 and number of rows is 3. So when we pass it to a function, then only the column number has to be mentioned, the row number needn't have to be mentioned. This is how a two-dimensional matrix is passed to a function. Now we'll have to read all the elements of this 3 cross 2 matrix. For that we would be writing a nested loop. So let's see how by writing a nested loop we can read elements of each of the elements of the matrix. I equals to 0, I less than equals to. So here this outer loop of the nested loop is going to run as many times as there are number of rows in the matrix, and the inner loop would run as many times as there are number of columns in the matrix. So here the outer loop, as there are 3 rows, we are going to run it 3 times from 0 to 2. And the inner loop, as there are 2 columns, we are going to run it for 2 times per iteration of outer loop. So j less than 2, j plus plus. Now we are going to prompt the user to enter element and we are going to write the row number and column number of the element we are getting from the user. So here in the square brackets we are going to write the row number and column number. So we are placing the %d's, which would be replaced by a value of I and j. And user would enter the number after this colon. So we are going to read it, and as it is integer, we would be writing %d, and this value that the user enters would get read and stored into the array at ijth position. That means at ith row and jth column. So this is it. We are done with reading matrix. Let us quickly test it. First of all, we would declare in the main function three matrices, two input matrix. Let us name it as A, B and C. Two input matrix of 3 cross 2 dimension and one result matrix in which the summation of the two matrices would be stored. So let us call it as res. It would also be of 3 cross 2 dimension. So as you might be knowing that summation of two matrices would produce as result a matrix of same dimension, and the dimension of the matrix is to be summed up should be equal. So here we have chosen 3 cross 2 matrices. So these two matrices are of same dimension and even the result would be of same dimension as the input matrices. Now we are going to read one of the matrices from the user. So we want to pass the matrix A. So this is how matrix is passed into a function. Read matrix and the name of the matrix. Two-dimensional array. So this is two-dimensional array. So this is how a two-dimensional array is passed into any function just by the name. Now let us build it and run it just to check whether the reading is working fine or not. So enter element 0 0, enter element 0 1. So we have already entered the first row's two elements and the second row's two elements and third row's two elements. So reading is working fine. Now we would be writing another method to print matrix, which would be taking as a parameter a two-dimensional array, and then it would print all the elements of the two-dimensional array. Print again, as the number of columns in the matrix is 2, so the parameter would be having 2 specified in the column dimension, but the rows would be empty. This is how a two-dimensional array is passed into a function. Now to print all the elements, again we are going to have this nested loop. So I am just copying and pasting it to the print matrix function, and what am I going to do is to use printf function to display the elements of the matrix. So for that, %d space, and ijth element of the matrix should be printed on the console. So for that, %d comma aij. Now this inner loop is going to print elements of a row. After printing the row, what I am going to do is I want to print the next line, next row of the matrix in next line. So after this loop, when all the elements of a row is printed, I would be printing line feed on the console. So for printing line feed, we are going to use printf \n. Now let us quickly test this function. So before printing it, I just want to give a line feed. There's some problem here, yeah. So we have forgotten to declare the variables I and j. Now first of all, enter some elements, and yeah, so our print function is working fine. 4 3 53 5 3 6. So this is the elements that we have entered, and they have got printed by the print matrix function on the console. One thing is here, because this is 2-digit number, we are getting a little bit of misalignment on the elements of the column. So what we can do is we can format it, and let us put 2f 2d. And now if I check, so by putting 2d, what would happen is that it would be able to accommodate 2-digit numbers, and the numbers would be right justified. So just to see the result, let us build it and then check whether this misalignment issue is resolved or not. Yeah, so even with 2-digit number, the misalignment issue is resolved because each of the elements are given now 2 spaces, and the elements are right justified. If you see, 4 is right justified, 3 is right justified, 56 is also right justified. So all the elements of a column are right justified. It can accommodate 2-digit numbers now. And if you want 3-digit number, you can just write %3d in the printf function. Now after this read matrix and print matrix functions are done, we are going to write the last function, that is sum matrix. So here we are going to write this third and last function, sum matrices, and as a parameter we are going to take the input matrices and the matrix in which we want to store the result. So another matrix to store the result, we'll call it as C. Now again, by using this nested loop, we are going to sum the input elements, corresponding input elements, and then put the summation into the corresponding element of the output matrix. See, ijth element of the C matrix would be equals to, as it is summation of matrices, so it would be summation of ijth element of matrix A and matrix B. So likewise, this nested loops would run for each element of matrix C, and the corresponding elements of input matrices A and B would be summed up, and then the result would be stored in the ijth element of C. So after this nested loops are done, we would have all the elements summation into the corresponding element of the matrix C. So now we are done with all the functions. Now we would be calling each of these functions. First of all, we need to read 2 matrices from the user. So we prompt the user first, enter elements of matrix 1. Enter elements of matrix 2. After that we are going to call the read matrix once more, but now with parameter b. Read matrix is reading the elements from the user and storing it in the elements of A, and again we are calling it with B, so all the user entries would be stored in the two-dimensional array B. Now after that, after reading the input matrices, we are going to call the sum matrices function, in which we are going to pass the input arrays as well as the output array. So the output array here is RES, stands for result, and after the RES is after the sum matrices function has run, we know that result contains the resultant matrix, and then we are going to print it on the console. The result of addition. The result of addition, or matrix addition. Fine. Now let us check once it has got built successfully. So 0th element, 0 element is 3, then 2, 4, 5. So the first matrix input is done. Enter elements of matrix 2, 1, 2. Now the summation is 4, 5, 16, 12, 11. Let us verify it. So 0th element of first matrix is 3, and 0th element of second matrix is 1. So 3 plus 1 is 4. So this one is correct. 0, 1 element is 2, and 0 and 1 element in matrix 2 is 3. 2 plus 3 is 5. So this is correct. 1 0th element is 4, 1 0th element is 2, 4 plus 2 is 6. So this result is coming out to be correct. We are done with the program. So fully this modular way of programming is becoming you are becoming more acquainted with modular way of programming. This is how we should be writing programs, that is dividing the logic into separate pieces of code, and then writing functions which would take care of single responsibility in the function. So here print matrix is taking a single responsibility, that is printing the matrix. Read matrix is taking another single responsibility, that is reading the matrix from the user, and sum matrices is taking another third responsibility, that is adding up two input matrices and producing the result. So this is how the modular programming has to be done. Hopefully you have enjoyed the session. Likewise, we are going to see more number of basic programming problems, and then in our kitty we would fill in all the required capabilities to write programs in a better way. Thank you.